All right, guys, welcome back to week 3 summary class. And before I go to the week 3, I think last week I have spoken about the HTML layout and attributes, right? Did I do that? HTML layouts and attributes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And I have also spoken about the section where I said, why do we, how exactly driver.find element is built. Actually, let me refer to my August 2021. Okay. Let me refer to this workspace and then I'll know better. Okay. So as a part of this one, right, yes, I remember talking about this breakdown. That was very important for us to understand. Anyways, let's try to start the Java class 3 project. Java class 3. Okay. So now we will take a look at these stuff here. Okay. Um, okay, so we need to talk about the simple conditional statements, which is quite self-explanatory. There are two different type of conditional statement. You just have to understand what is the difference between a switch case and if else statement, and then use it accordingly. So understand that if else statement is letting you test every condition separately. How do I mean? So for example, just give me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. So what I'm trying to say is that we are going to check each and every condition separately. Meaning what? So I have this simple 3 different variables, A, B, and C, 3 different values. So the difference between switch case and the if else statement is that when I click on, when the if statements get into the execution mode, what happens is you click on, the first condition is going to be checked over here, right? If A is not greater than B, if it is greater than B, then we are good. If it is greater than B, then we are good. I will be able to get the output exactly like this. If it is not, then you have to understand that the execution check will happen over here. It's a step-by-step checking. If this condition is false, then this condition is checked. If this condition is false, then the else part will be called and you will be able to work it out. You'll be able to print it up, print this value. So it is a step-by-step process, correct? However, in case of switch case, the things are different. In switch case, you are already loading all the cases that can be a suitable match. So all you're saying here is that if your job title is software engineer, without worrying at all, your case, this particular case will be picked up. This particular case will be picked up immediately. And then you will be able to print this value and then you have to break it. You have to break it because in switch case you have a problem. That is, if you don't break it, it will not be taking you out of this whole block. It will keep on printing all the values in every case. Let me quickly give you a difference check so that you understand. Let me go ahead and test Java, right? Just give me 1 minute. So we have the say condition checker, condition check, something like this, with the main method over here. Okay. Now let's understand. I have int num a equals 25, int num b equals 35. Okay. Int num c equals 45. Right. Now look at this very well because it's quite easy to prove whatever I said is right. Because if I just say if num a, okay, is greater than num b, okay, then I can say, well, here we are just dealing with, here we are dealing with only three numbers, right? So let me do this, right? If num a is greater than num b, then sys out num a is greatest, num a is greater than num b, else if, okay, num b is greater than a, greater than num a, then just the opposite, right? Very simple to understand. All am I trying to prove here is that right now, this if else condition, I'm trying to work out with only two numbers, okay? I'm putting a breakpoint here in line number 12, also in line number 14. I want you to understand this flow so that you don't get confused. It's very simple to understand. I'm going to run this program in a debug mode. So debug. When I do this, it comes and lands in here. It's checking whether num a is greater than num b or not, right? I'm considering only these two numbers here. I'm not considering the third number at all. Obviously, this condition, the first condition check will be a failure. If it fails, it is landing in line number 14, okay, to check whether num B is greater than num A or not. If it is, it goes inside this and prints, correct? Number one that you have to understand is we are checking each and every else if and if block, if condition separately. That's the first thing that you should be understanding. In this occasion, I could have simply got the same result. I could have got the same result with by saying if num A is greater than num B, then num A is greater than num B, else print num B is greater than num A. Correct? Now, if I go and run this in a debug mode, I again come here in line number 12, go down. Okay, let me just do one thing. I'll put a break. Okay, you see, I can't even put a breakpoint in the else block. I can't do that. In the else section, I cannot put a breakpoint even, correct? I cannot put a breakpoint here. I have to put a breakpoint line number 11, 15 only. So again, if you look at it, I land in 12. I go down straight to 15 because the condition was a failure. You are understanding the difference between if and else if. When there is a if section, you can actually go ahead and add a breakpoint to see how the flow is running through, right? The condition, the results are same in both the case. But I'm just trying to show you how you can understand the flow. Now, the point is, you must be understanding that you can add n number of else if for multiple condition check. And there is no hard and fast rule that if there is a else if, you need to add a else as well. There is no hard and fast rule like that. You can just simply skip this, no problem at all. You can even remove this whole section, meaning if block can exist on its own, okay? If block can exist on its own, but not the else block. Else block will not be able to exist on its own. Else will never exist on its own. You cannot keep it like that. If I remove my if, then else won't be staying on its own. There's an error, correct? So these are the small things that you must be understanding. All right. Now, this program that I'm writing, it is not right. Why it's not right? Because I should have added one more condition here to make it perfect. I should have said else num A and num B is same. I have not covered all the condition. Num A is same as num B, right? Because either they are great, either they are either A is greater than B or B is greater than A, or they are same. If I run it in this situation, then I can say that I have covered all my conditions properly. So let's run this. Let's make it as 35, both the cases, right? Let's debug this again. Line number 12, no problem at all. Then I go and line number 14, that is not right. And you will see that I will directly be landed here saying 35 is the same as 35, correct? So that's how you have to understand. But our main difference with this is one of the difference with switch case for sure. But there is also one more difference that I want to talk about, and that will be regarding logical operators. when I evaluate a if condition with a logical operator. Okay, that will also make some difference. That will also make some difference in my situation. For example, I have num a greater than b. All right, let's make this as 25. And I can say num a greater than b. All right, num b and num a greater than equals to greater than c, num c. If this condition is true, then I can go ahead and say that my number a is greater than is the greatest, is the greatest. Correct? Simple logic. Simple logic. Okay. Again, we can repeat the same stuff over here just by saying if num b is greater than num c, or num b is greater than num a and num b is greater than num c, then num b is greatest. Very simple. Okay. Else num c is greatest. Else num c is greatest. Okay. Else num c is greatest. Correct. Now this condition is little bit, I mean, it will exactly work the same way that I showed you earlier, but here things are a little different. Okay. Meaning, let me show you something. Let me put my second conditions in a different line. I'm going to put my second conditions in a different line, okay? And then let's see what happens. Num a is greater than num b, and num a is greater than num c. If it is the case, then I can say num b is greatest, right? Here, I will be changing a few things in this situation. I will make this number as 45. Okay. I will make number C as 55. Okay, good. All right. So you understand when the if condition will be checked, this section that I'm highlighting, that will result to true. That will result to true, correct? All right. And this guy over here, num a greater than num c, that will be result to false. Okay. Again, num b greater than num c, num a, this will be result to false, and this will be result to false as well. Okay. And finally, when all of them are not working, then it will be left out with num c to be printed. Okay. So now the point is, let me test it out for you. I'm starting and stopping in line number 12. Okay. This is one of the condition. This is my second condition. My first condition, it sounds to be true, correct? So let's check this out. You see something. because the first condition was true, okay, the second condition is getting checked. Why? Because it is having a AND operator. I think I will talk about the AND operators and operators in general in future. Let me see, where am I talking about them? Uh, Conditional statements, overloading. Did I talk about operators? I spoke about operators somewhere.
It's on the week number 1.
Week number 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Correct. Exactly. So I have spoken about it, right? Okay. So I'm just trying to prove this to you, that when the true happened for AND condition, I am checking that the second condition is also a true or not. Okay. If it is not true, then I will be going to the next else if. So if you remember the truth table of a AND operator, okay, this is the AND operator, right? This is the AND operator, right? And if there is a truth table, if you remember that, that means if it is true, the first condition is true, second condition is false, then the outcome will be false. Correct? First condition is false, second condition is true, the outcome will be false. That's the truth table, if you remember that. Again, both the conditions are false, the outcome is false. And both the condition is true, outcome is true. That's the truth table for a AND, right? And what is the truth table for OR? If you remember, the OR is having a different truth table. You say OR with double pipes, right? Sorry, double pipe. Double pipe is OR, right? And how do you define that OR? If it's true, the first condition is true, second condition is false, the answer lies as true. The first condition is false, second condition is true, the result is true. The first condition is true, second condition is true, the answer is true. The first condition is false, second condition is false, the answer is false. That's the truth table for AND and OR. And I'm just trying to prove this to you with the if-else statement. You can very clearly see that's exactly what is happening. See this. Conditional check. I am landing in line number 12. I'm checking I'm checking line number 12, and I'm checking that num A is greater than num B. So the first condition is true, no problem at all. But even if the first condition is true, even then I must be checking the second condition as well, because I am working with the AND operator. You're trying to check both the conditions here. Okay. In this case, num A is greater than num C. That situation is wrong. So obviously I checked it here. That situation is wrong, and it will not be taken under consideration. So I will be going to the next line, line number 16. Again, num B greater than num A. Is that true? No, it's not. So I check that, but it will anyway check the second one also. Wait a minute. Oh, sorry, my bad. Just a second. Num B is greater than num A. It should have checked this one, right? It should have checked this one. Why it is not checking that one? Num B is greater than num C. So the first condition is false. It should have checked the second condition to see whether it is true or not. Let me just run it one more time. Why is that happening? It's an AND operator. The first condition is a false. The second condition should have been checked. Oh no, my bad, right? My bad, right? Yeah. Obviously. If the first condition is false, there is no need to check for the second condition because we know the first condition is false. In OR case, in case of OR, it will be different, right? Because if the first condition is false already, there is no point in checking the second condition. It is anywhere false. And that is exactly what is happening. Look at it. So the first condition was true over here. It wanted to check whether the second condition is also true or not, which is why it moved to the next line and checked it. However, in this situation, num B is greater than num A, that is false. If that's the case, there is no point in checking this part at all. And then I'm making a move directly to the last one saying num C is greatest, and I'm printing that out. Right? Now let's do some check here. Let's try to evaluate this with OR condition. I know it will not really make sense, but I'm just trying to show you how the OR and AND differs. OR, right? Here, num A is greater than num B. That's the only check I'm doing, correct? Num A is greater than num B. This is a true. This is true, correct? This one is a false. Let's see how OR reacts to it. Okay, num A is greater than num B. That is true. Do you see that? It is not even checking for it. Because if any of these two are making sense, if any of these two are making sense or making the result as true, then I will be able to print out this value. That is the difference between OR and AND. I wanted to break it down in different lines to show you how does it work. Okay, let me do one more thing here. I just say this one is num A is 45. This is 35. I want to make this as false and this one as false as well. So I will say this is 25. Okay, so num A is not greater than num B and num A is not greater than num C. So both the conditions are false now, correct? Both the conditions, this is going to be false now, correct? This will be false now. The second one will be false as well. Okay, now let's see what happens. Okay, line number 12. Num A is greater than num B. This is obviously false. Now that it's false, it is checking the next one to see whether this one is true or not. Obviously, it is not true. It will take me to the next line, next else if. Here, num A is greater than num B. Is that right? Yes, it is. Num B is greater than num A. 35 is greater than num A, correct? Which is why this condition will never be checked. And I land in here and I print it. You see that? So I want you to be crystal clear about this if else and condition and or condition and how exactly it works. If you break it down in multiple lines, you will exactly see that how the program is actually seeing it. Um, is this clear to everyone? Srikant,
Yes, 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 yes.
Antariksh, Ronan,
Yeah.
Tamila?
Yes.
Okay, fine. This is good. Let me remove this line and let's try to talk about the switch case. So I'll actually change it back to and because that would make sense, or doesn't make sense here. Let's go to switch case. So I just go and say string name equals Solvik, right? And switch, and then you say name dot equals ignore case, and this is Solvik. Case, okay. The case, let's go and say 3. I'm adding different cases, okay? Case Ronan, case okay. Not a semicolon, it's a colon. It's a colon. Case what else? Ronan, Andresh, and Tamila. And then case Solvik, right? Multiple different cases I have here. No problem at all. Say sys out student, add a break here. Okay, let's not add a break. Let's just do it the way it is. This is trainer. Correct? Simple. What is the problem? Equals ignore case. Okay, sorry, my bad. I just want to do something here. Say dot to uppercase. That's it. To uppercase is not taking. Why? Name dot to uppercase. Sorry, my bad. That's not the case, right? Name dot to uppercase. Name dot to uppercase. Yeah, that's it. Name dot to uppercase. And then I'm going to check on their cases, right? So when this will be read, line number 24, 26, let's try to execute them. I'll take out the breakpoints from here. Run. Okay, so I'm here in line number 24. I got the value. That's cool. In the next line, name dot to uppercase. I'm changing whatever the case it is. I'm making it as an uppercase. That's fine. And then I'm going to land in to my case directly instead of going through every cases like we have seen here, checking each and every else if condition. I can land into my case directly, just like that. You see that? That is the beauty of switch case. But in switch case, you can definitely have a faster execution where you are just trying to deal with one particular condition with multiple values. So you have the name here, and then you have multiple values of the name that you want to check. that makes sense to go with case. But switch case will not be helping me in terms of, like the way I showed you, checking multiple condition. That doesn't work out with switch case. Okay, so you have to choose what works I mean, you have to choose the right approach depending on your situation. So I can go and I can print this out, no problem at all. If I just go and say Ronan here, and if I go and run this, you will see that I'm going to stop at Ronan first. I print that value, but then I keep on printing other guys as well. Why is that? Because I have not added a break statement. Always add a break statement after every case that you complete in a switch case, so that you don't, you just break out of that particular block. As soon as that condition is met, you execute it and then you break out of that particular block. Just like that. Correct? That's the difference between switch case and if else. I hope that is clear to everyone. Is that right? Yes, no?
Yeah, that's clear to me.
Okay. Now that we have got that, next thing that you must be understanding is these 4 different type of access specifier. What is access specifier? Access specifier is basically letting us access a component in our program from a different location. Okay, that is what our access specifier is all about. You're trying to access a particular component from a different location within the project. There are 4 different type of access specifiers: private, default, protected, and public. Okay, I'll talk about this 3 first: private, default, and public, and then I'll talk about protected once I cover inheritance. All right, what is private? The access level of private modifier is only within the class. It's quite understandable because you see I have okay, let me show you something. Private in this particular class itself, private string name equals private string name equals Sovic. Okay, now this name, let me just comment this out. Okay, as soon as I commented this section out, line number 28, you can very well see that I'm getting an error message right here. The error message is saying, and the variable color got changed to blue. If you look at the variable that I added here, this is also in blue color, which means it is a class member. This guy is a class member. This is a class and this is a class member. A member which is directly under this particular class, right? It's a class member and it's a variable. So it is changed to it is blue, but it is showing me an error. Why it is showing me an error? Because in a main method, this is a main method, right? The main method is having a keyword called static. Okay, so a main method that is basically a static method can only accept a variable which is static. Don't worry about that. I will talk about static in later stages. For now, if you are trying to create a variable in the same location where the main method is, always try to make that variable as a static variable. So private static, whatever, right? So you see, this is my variable, okay? And it is private, right? I can run my program again and it will print me the values, no problem at all, correct? So this variable static is this variable name is a private variable. Everybody within the class, within this particular class, can access this variable, but nobody else can do it. How do I prove that? I can just go and create a new class, new class, and say test Java, right, with the main method here, and finish. Okay, so once I do that, I can see, I can create an object. Not an object, actually. You see, the beauty of a static variable is, the beauty of a static element is, so this main method is a static method. This guy is also a static variable, right? So you can see that this main method is a public method, okay? So from the second class, I can just go and directly say that condition check dot main. Do you see that? I am able to call the main method. Okay. I'm trying to call the main method, which is residing inside condition check class. Okay. Directly, meaning just by using a dot operator. If you remember earlier when I was talking about the class and objects, I told you that if you have a class car, and you have a method over here called StartCar is a method. StartCar is a method within the class car. Then you can say car C equals new car, right? And then you can say C dot start car. That is what I was telling you earlier, correct? That means I told you that you need to create an object of the car class in order to actually call a method called start car, right? I told you this earlier in the last week, correct? But now you can see I am not really bothered to create the object of condition check class. Why is that? Because in the condition check class, there is a method called a main method. There's a method called a main method. This main method is a static method. Because it is a static method, don't worry, I'll talk about static method in details later on, but for now, just to carry on the conversation, I'm telling you that if an element, if a method is static, then that method can be directly called by the class name itself just by using a dot operator. You don't have to create an object of the class in order to call a static method. Is this clear to everyone? Yes, no?
Yeah.
Okay. So the point is that main method is a public method, and condition check dot main method, I am able to access it. Okay. And now if I run this, program, you can see, not from here, my bad. I'll run it from here. Run as Java application. You can see that this guy, this test Java, is able to call the main method, which is under condition check. However, condition check dot name equals something, Ronan. I can't do that. Why? Look at it. Clearly says the field condition check dot name is not visible, right? The name over here is a private element, which is not visible beyond the class itself. So keep that in mind very clearly. This is a private variable. All right. Let's try to create. Please stop me if you are having even 1% doubt. Please stop me so that I can help you out, right? The next type of variable is, or next type of access specifier is default. So when I say default, in default access specifier, you don't have to really put any access specifier. I can just directly say static number equals 20. I'm saying static again because I want to show you that I can access it from a different class. Static int number equals 30, correct?
Sorry, what does the static mean?
Don't worry about it. Just
Yeah.
right now, understand the static is a keyword, okay? What it means, I will let you know in the future class, okay? When we go to the advanced level concept. For now, whatever I'm showing you, it doesn't really matter whether a variable is static or a variable is a non-static. I'll show it to you, okay? I'll prove it to you. Just focus on this part, the access modifier part, okay? So we are talking about private here. The private is having this variable called, I'm putting a variable called name with the value Sovic. I was not able to access this variable from the other class. And this one, static int number, this variable is a default variable. Why? Because I have not added any access specifier before it. Okay. So if I go ahead and say condition check dot number equals 50, you can see that I am able to access it. I am able to access a default element. This is a default element, but I'm not able to access a private element. Don't worry about the static because I'm just going to show you the results will be same, meaning I'm creating another variable over here, leave static. I'm creating another variable over here. Say private string name 2. Name 2 equals Ronan. Okay. This is a normal variable without any static situation. And then I'm going to create another variable, which is int number 2 equals 55. This is a private variable. This is a regular variable, I mean default variable, and they are not having that keyword called static, correct? Now I'll go back to the next one. Now, if I have to access these variables, okay, if I try to even access these variables, I must be creating an object of this class. How? I can go back to this guy earlier because name variable and number variable are static, are having that keyword called static. I'm able to directly access them with the class name. So writing it very clearly. I'll talk about this later on one more time in details later on. But for now, static elements can be accessed via class name directly. By a class name directly. You can see this is my class name. I'm able to access a static member. I'm trying to access a static member, okay? However, these two guys are non-static, all right, because they don't have static keyword. And non-static elements must be accessed accessed via what? An instance of the class, an object of the class, right? Meaning I can create an object of the class just like that. Condition check dot condition check dot check equals new condition check, meaning check is the object of condition check class, meaning I can say check dot, and you can see I'm able to access number 2 equals 65. However, I cannot say check dot name 2 equals Savik. So it doesn't really matter whether it's static or non-static. The private and default works the same way. That's what I'm trying to prove. You can see it's again giving me the same problem. Name 2 is not visible. Exactly same what I see here. Name is not visible. So it doesn't really matter whether the element is static or non-static. If the element is private, you will not be able to access it out of that class, period. Is that clear to everyone?
Yeah.
Yes,
Antarish,
yes.
clear? Okay. Now, Srikant, I'm not able to get any feedback. What happened? Your understanding?
Yes, yes, yes. I got it. Yeah,
Your voice is low, very low. I don't know what happened.
I got it.
Okay, all right. So that's my static. That's my private, and that's my default. Now, I want to show you something. I want to create a package. I'll name this package as test Java 2, and I'll say finish. This is an empty package. Okay, look at this very, very carefully. You can see right now the private element name, and the private element name 2, private element name and the private element name 2, they are right now complaining that name 2 or name variable is not visible, which is understandable because they are private. Okay. However, there is no problem with number or number 2 because they are default, correct? Now what I'll do is, you see, condition check is the class in which name and number and name 2 and number 2 variables are defined. Now what I'll do is I will drag my test Java class from test Java package to test Java 2 package. All right. I did that. I took this guy out of test Java and I'm keeping it here now. Now, if you look at my program, now you see that both name and number, name 2 and number 2, both of them are creating the same problem. Both of them are showing me error. What error? Let's look at the first element, is not visible. Second element is not visible. Third is not visible. Fourth is not visible. Why is that? Why is
It's
that?
It's
Yeah, go on.
because you are using 2 different packages, so they can't access from like one package to another package. All the variables, they are not accessible.
No. It's not all the variables. It's
Like
about
which one is it? Private and default one?
okay. Private will be anyway not accessible. That is clear.
Yeah.
But the rule with default variable is that you need to keep the classes from where you are accessing and where you have the variable under the same package.
Yeah.
So this one and this one must be under the same package if you are trying to access the default variables. So number and number 2 are default variables, right? and they should be under the same package. Let me put it here back, and the error is gone for number and number 2. Does that prove that default variables cannot be accessed out of the package? Let me write it down. Cannot be accessed out of the package. Okay. Am I clear with this statement? Everyone?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Public is simple. You can create a public variable, public class, public method, and you will be able to access it everywhere within the project, outside of the project as well, right? You see, I think I proved this to you. I think I proved it to you earlier, right? Yeah. Yeah. You remember this example, test project jar. I spoke about this first class, right? Meaning if you are creating a project out of Java class 1, you are if you're creating a build out of Java class 1 and adding that build inside another project, then still you will be accessing those elements which are public in nature. So public elements can be accessed within the project or outside of the project. That should be very easy to understand. Okay. The last thing is a protected, but I will talk about protected in a while, because first and foremost, you must understand what is inheritance, and then we talk about protected in details. All right. Let's move on to the next part of the situation. All right. So I'll talk about methods now. Methods now, and then I'll talk about inheritance, and then I'll go to the next part of it. Okay. What are methods? Why do I even care to have a method? Simple and easy explanation. If you are writing a piece of program, and if you foresee that that piece of program, maybe 5 lines, 10 lines, doesn't matter. If you foresee that that piece of code that you have written is having a potential for a reusability in future, then you will convert that method or that piece of those 10 lines or 20 lines or whatever into a method, and then call it how many ever times you want to. This is basically supporting one principle in Java called as not in Java, but in programming in general. It's called dry. Do not repeat yourself, right? It is just supporting dry principle, that is, do not repeat yourself. If you're writing a piece of code and you know that you have a potential for this reusability in future, you will be wrapping it inside a method. Okay, there are three different types of methods that you will mostly be seeing, and that is what I'm trying to list down here. Number one is just a simple method that will always give you a similar result. Always a method that gives you a similar result always. For example, if I go back to my code, in this test Java, in the condition check Java, okay, let me create another one, right? Let's not confuse you. I'll do it here. New class, set test methods. Methods. correct? Normal method, I'm not having any main method here to trigger it. It's a normal class called test methods. And here I'm going to add some methods here, okay? So I have a plan to get the result of two numbers, two specified number. I'm just giving you a very lame example, but I'm just trying to make you understand that the reason behind it. So get the result of two specified number. You always know that this is the addition value you will always get for get the addition result or get the summation of two specified number. So I can say public is a method specifier, access specifier. Public void means this method is not returning back any information. Public void sum. That's it, sum. And then I'm going to say int a equals 25, int b equals 35. All right, int a equals 25, int b equals 35, and sys out summation is plus a plus b. What is this plus? Plus is a concatenation operator. Okay, I'm trying to concatenate the result and the string together. So it is a concatenation operator. Okay, and I'm trying to print the value of the summation. You understand that every time I run this, every time I'll get the same value. Okay, whenever I call this method, I get the value. This is my first type of method. Cool. Second type of method is public void sum of two sum with dynamic numbers. Okay, sum with dynamic numbers. So get the summation of two dynamic numbers. Get the summation of two dynamic numbers. Correct? How do you get the dynamic numbers? Obviously, you have to pass on the numbers into it. You will be doing it with parameterization. Okay, I say int a, int b. Two numbers, int a and int b. Correct? What do? I say sys out a plus b. I'm going to pass two different numbers and I'm going to get the result over here. That's it. Finally, I have one more number or one more method that can accept any number of values, and then print it for you. Correct? So public int.
Shavik. Hello.
Yeah, hi, tell me.
Yeah, like why is like system.err.println?
Oh, my bad. Oh, sorry for looking at it. It should be out.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see it. Anyway, so sum public int sum with two dynamic numbers and sum with multiple dynamic numbers, multiple dynamic numbers, right? Sum with multiple dynamic numbers. Okay. I have a plan, that is, I want to pass on multiple numbers inside this. This is called an argument. Whatever I'm passing it over here, this is called an argument or parameter. Argument or parameters, parameters, right? And here get the summation of multiple dynamic numbers. Multiple dynamic numbers. Okay. So what is the idea? You see, as soon as you added that this method is going to return back some information, it is giving me an error saying this method must return a result of type int. So you must have a return statement like this here. Return, because you are this method is supposed to return a value. So return say 0 for now. I will give the right value. Okay. So the idea is I'm going to pass on a parameter here, and this parameter is going to be a var args parameter. Int dot 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 space nums. The name of the parameter is nums, and the type of this parameter is called var args. Var args. Okay, var args. Var args basically lets you send multiple same type of values depending on your choice. You see, the previous method is only allowing two different parameters to be submitted. But with this approach, I can submit 2, 5, 10, 20, doesn't matter. I can submit any number of parameters to it. Good. So that is basically a var args. Var args is nothing but it's an array. It's an array of same type of elements. Correct? Same type of elements. It's an array. Nothing more than that. Okay. Idea is I want to print out all the summation of this multiple values. So I'll use a for loop, guys. I've spoken about for loop earlier. For each loop, I will use it here. I'll say int result. I'm creating a default result variable. Int result equals 0. I'll say return result, because result is int, so I can return it. Now I'm going to say for each loop, for int n n colon nums, and result equals result plus n. Okay, what did I do? So you understand that in this nums parameter, you will be getting multiple values like this: 12, 34, 56, 78, 90, for example, right? This is how the var args works, right? And then you are looping around this simple var args with this for each loop. What will it do? It will simply pick up one element at a time and submit that value to the number n. First variable will have the variable, first iteration, the value of n will be 12. So this is 12, correct? And this is 0. So the result is 12, right? correct? Then the second iteration comes, meaning 34 gets picked up here and sent to int and sent to int. What will happen here? What will happen here? I will simply
12 on the 34.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Very good. Right. So I will be simply adding the result will be 12 from the previous iteration, and this is 34. And now the result will be 56. Right? So and so forth. You'll keep on iterating until it
for-
hits the last, sorry,
That's 46, yeah.
46, my buddy. So 46, correct? It will iterate over last 5 numbers, all the numbers that are there, and then finally get the value out of it. Okay, and then finally I will be returning back the summation using this. That's it. So let me try to show you how does this whole thing works. I mean the entire, okay, clear out the whole drawing, was a big deal. Okay, so I have created these 3 methods to perform summation. Okay, how do I work? How do I call them? Very simple. New class. This class will be a main method for me. So I'll say test sum, something like that. And with the main method over here, good. And then I have to create an object of test methods so that I can call the respective methods, right? So test methods dot method, okay, equals new test methods. Good. Test methods method equals new test methods. So we got that. Now what do? I say method dot, I can call the respective method sum. Okay. If I execute this line right now, I will always, that's fine. It is saying that there is a project, there is an error in the project. It's okay. You see, I'm always getting the value as 60 from this execution because I have a summation of 25 and 35, which is 60. Correct? No problem in understanding. That's my test sum. What if I want to call the other guy? A dynamic method. Method dot sum with 2 dynamic number. And here I can give 3478. Sorry, 3478. And you can see that it prints the value as well. Okay. So I got 60 and 112. No problem at all. Finally, I have the last one, method dot sum with multiple dynamic number, and this guy is expecting a var args. Sending value to var args is very simple. I know it is an integer var arg, so I will be simply passing the value like this. You see, that's it. You can keep on adding n number of parameter. Here it was 2 specified. Here there was no parameter at all, but here I can just add n number of parameter the way I wanted to, no problem at all. Okay, there is no complaint. So let's run this. I'm getting just the value for these two, but I'm not getting any value for this one. Can you tell me why?
You have to give the statement for print sysout.
Yeah.
You have to call, yeah, like you just define everything. You have to print that.
Exactly. So you understand that definitely it is making the calculation. There is no problem at all. It is also returning back the value. There is no problem in that. But somebody has to catch this value, right? Somebody has to catch this value. Otherwise, this value will be never printed in your console. Correct? So I can just say again here, int sum equals this, because the result will be caught here, and then I can say sysout summation result is sum. Correct? Now let's run this. And that's where I got the value. Correct? So basically I'm trying to say the method you're going to build to support do not repeat yourself situation. You know that you will be able to use this 5 lines, 10 lines, 20 lines over and over again, wrap it up in a method. If you want to parameterize it, and then use it forever. And the best part is once you write a method, okay, think about it. It's very simple to understand. So this method that I have written, right? Maybe in the whole project, I have called this method 100 times. Okay. And in future, you want to make some adjustment to the operation that is happening over here. You don't have to go to all those 100 places where you have called them. You just come to only this one place and update your logic, and everywhere else wherever it has been used, they will be always getting the updated logic, right? That's the beauty of using a method. So wherever you, how many ever times you want to call it, you call it, and then if you want to change it, go to one place, change it, and you're done. Am I making sense with it? Yes, no?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So that is that. Let me just check out something. Okay, that is that. So now let me go to the next part of it, and that is the understanding inheritance. Okay, so we will talk about inheritance in a while. I'll take a quick 5 minutes break. I'll come back and I'll start the inheritance. Once we're done with that, we have to look for the other stuff. Inheritance, constructors, overloading, overriding, runtime polymorphism, locator strategies. Okay, fine. We'll cover this up, no problem at all. Give me 5 minutes, okay? Thank you. Okay. So now we have to understand the next part. It's another concept in object-oriented principle. It's called inheritance. Okay. There are multiple different object-oriented principles that we will be looking at. So inheritance is one of them. Runtime polymorphism, abstraction, encapsulation. These are other stuff as well. All right. So what is inheritance? Try to understand the situation. It's very simple to understand. Don't try to make it complicated. It's very simple to understand. Let me just create another package. Actually, let me comment out the sections because they're showing me the error, right? So let me comment this out. Good. Now that we have this here, let's create a new package called as test inheritance. All right. As a part of test inheritance, I am going to use few classes, new class. Um, just 1 second. Okay. So I'm just creating a simple class here. Let's try to create a class called as um, let me try to create a system where, let me think. I'm trying to create I don't want to take the example of car class because I have taken that earlier also. I'm trying to take an example of something else. Maybe I'll go and use a student class. Okay. Okay. Let's try to use something like this. Let's try to use a student class. Students class. Student. All right. As a part of the student class, a student can have few different attributes like name, like age, gender, right? That's it, more or less. They can have some properties like, yeah, they can have some properties as well. For example, they can start the class, end class, end class, or start school, end school, or maybe start class, end class. That's fine. Simple two different properties I'm giving to student class. The idea is, this is my common student. Understand this very well. This is my common student class, a student class template, a common student class template, a common student class template, class template. Correct? Now, from this student class, I can go ahead and I can create multiple students, no problem at all. So I can create a student like student named Sri equals new student. I can do that. I can go ahead and set the values for student. So Sri dot name is Sri. Sri dot age is 30. Dot age is 30. Age is 30. Sri dot gender is male. Sri dot gender is male, right? M, correct? And I can create exactly same stuff for multiple other guys in the class. No problem at all. I can create a Ronan. I can create Ronan. First and foremost, understand the reason for inheritance. That is highly important. Then we will see more about it, right? Let's say Tamina. dot name dot name age gender. This is Tamina. Sorry. This is, oh my bad. Anyway, you get the point. You get the point that what I'm trying to do. I have three different students. They're all being derived from the same template. Can you please tell me if this is okay, or do you have any question about this particular setup? I have a simple class called student and creating three different objects out of it. There is no problem in that, right?
Yes, no problem.
Yeah, not clear.
Good stuff. Now, what will I do if I am trying to add a specific characteristic for one of my student or multiple of my student? For example, what will I do if I want to say that Sri can dance, can dance? What will I do if I say Ronan can swim, can swim, can swim, and Tamina can cook, right? What will I do if I want to add in specific characteristics to my students? You understand that there is no, there's not, there is, it'll be bad. It'll be a wrong approach if I add can dance, can dance, can swim, can cook in my common template. It'll be a bad approach because not everyone is same, right? Not these guys, not everyone can dance. Only a specific guy is able to dance, correct? How can I specify that? I cannot put this into a common template. It'll be terrible, correct? That's where inheritance comes in place. That's where inheritance tells me that don't worry, you inherit your common properties from you inherit your common properties from the common template, or you inherit your primary properties from the common template and then add new properties to your specific subclass. So what we can do is, instead of creating an object of the same template class, I can go ahead and simply create my own subclasses depending on my students, correct? Student, student, student. This guy is Sri, Sri. This guy is Ronan. And this guy is Tamina, right? And then I can design my own specific attributes. Can swim, can dance, can swim, right? Can cook. Okay, by doing this, what will be my benefit? The benefit is that the subclass, so this is my parent class, This is my parent class, and this is my subclass. Correct? So the point is, whatever the properties and attributes which are there as a part of the parent class can be derived, can be accessed via the subclass. So meaning, if I'm saying can dance, then I can access all the other elements coming from the student class to say that Sri with age so and so, gender so and so can dance. Obviously, the can dance method can access all these properties because it is derived from the parent class. How do I create a child and the parent relationship? I create it with a simple keyword called extends. I use extends keyword. I can use extends keyword to create a child and a parent relationship. Can you please give me an understanding that theoretically, are you understanding this logic? That why do I even
Yes,
need to
please.
have, why do I even need to have inheritance in the first place?
Yeah, theoretically, yeah.
Okay. Now, if you have understood that, then let's try to implement the same. Let's try to implement the same. Uh, just a second. Okay. If you have understood that, let me actually can you guys help me to create the logic that I just said here? The subclass and the child class situation. If I'm asking you to help me to write this, Antariksh, can you help me out? Can you tell me what should I do?
Yes.
Go on.
So you need to create a student class first. That will be the parent class.
Let's
Without
do that.
a
Let's do that first. So I'll say student. Okay.
yeah, and
What do I do here in the student class?
you define the common properties that should be there.
Like,
For example,
Name, age, and gender.
okay, so public. Okay, let's do something. I'll make them as protected. Okay, instead of private, I make this properties as protected. Okay, and I'll show you what exactly I mean. Protected string name protected string or character, protected character char gender. Okay, gender and protected age int age, right? I've added these three guys. I will also be adding the common properties. Number one, let's say public void. These data members, these are data members, right? They are the members who are going to hold the actual value. So data members who are going to actually hold the value of these information, right? Public void start class is just another method which will simply be starting the class for the gender, okay, for this particular element. So I say sys out. I'll not do anything here, just a simple statement, sys out, and I will say name gender, name age plus gender, okay, starting class, started the class. correct? And then exactly same stuff. Stop class. Stop class. All right. Okay. That's my stop the class. Stopped. Stop the class. Okay. That's my common template. Very good. Let's go to Sri. Can you tell me, Sri, what do I do next?
Create like a child class. Then
Okay. What will be the name of the child class?
like the child class like dance. Already like age gender is covered. No? In that we have to write age gender is covered.
I showed you the design, right?
Yeah. Then
This was my design. I showed you that you have to create a child class. So what are my class names? Child class names?
this is this one street dancer, this Rohan, this one child one, all those.
What is the class? This can dance is a class or Sri is a class?
Sri is the class actually, child class.
Okay, and what is can dance?
It's like objects. These are 3 objects for that single same class. We have to access to the in single class.
Oh, can dance is a method.
Yeah, method. Yeah. So that method we have to access this shell, and we have to access to the from the to give to the main method, main class.
Okay. So now, okay, actually, I should create another. Okay, I'll actually copy the student class to test inheritance package. That's better. Okay.
Yeah.
And now I create a class here. The name of the class is Sri.
Sri.
I create another class, Ronan.
Yeah.
I create one more class, Tamina. Right?
Yes.
How can I create a child and a parent relationship, Ronan? This is my child. How can I create a child and a parent relationship?
In the child, you put extends student.
Exactly. Very good. Extend student. And that's how I'm creating a child and a parent relationship. Perfectly fine. Now, this guy over here is having a specific method. The name of the method is can dance.
Can
So
dance.
public void can dance. So we can just go ahead and say from the student class, I'll copy the sysout statement and I'll go back to my Sri and then say can is dancing.
Dance.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a specific method created for the Sri class.
Sri.
Similarly,
Remaining are same.
remaining are same. Right.
Same.
Go to Ronan. I say can swim.
Can swim. There's a method it changes.
Can swim is swimming.
Is swimming. Yeah.
Okay. And just 1 second. Okay, it's swimming. But you see, right now I'm getting the error message. name, age, gender is not visible because Ronan is not extended to students yet. So extends student. Good. Errors are gone. Finally, the last one is can cook and is cooking, right? And extends student. That's it. So I have 3 different classes. Okay. Now, I want you guys to take a close look. I'm taking a small deviation from the inheritance, and let me first cover the protected situation. In student class, I have these data members which are protected in nature, correct? I want these
Yes.
guys, they are protected in nature. There is a relationship between my subclass and the parent class, and I'm establishing this connection using the extends keyword. You can see all these methods, can dance, can swim, can cook, they all are able to access these variables, correct? Because they
Yes.
are protected in nature, right? Because they are protected in nature, if I am moving the student class to a different package, let's look at it. I'm moving it to the test Java package. You see, I'm still able to access them. Sri is able to access name, age, and gender without any problem, even though they are in a different package. However, name, age, and gender is a protected element. It is not a default element. It's not a private element. It is a protected element. So it means that in plain and simple English, if there is a parent and child relationship, if there is a parent and a child relationship, it doesn't matter, and the members of parent class is protected, is having protected access, then it doesn't matter, where these classes are residing, whether they are inside the same package or they are not, it doesn't matter. If there is a parent-child relationship and the members of the parent class is having protected access, then it doesn't matter. Where these classes are residing, correct? And I proved that to you. That is, I have taken that student class right there from the test inheritance package to test Java package, and nobody's complaining. However, look at it. If one of these variables, okay, if I make them as the default, just by taking the protected keyword out and save, immediately, Sri, Ronan, Tamina, everybody is complaining that they can't see the age at all. Why? Because now Sri class and student class, they are in different package. Can you please give me a confirmation you understood the difference between protected and default?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So I will just take it back to the test inheritance, and I will also make it protected so that the error is gone. Good. Okay. Let me clear the drawing as well. Okay, that's it. So now I have created a parent-child relationship. Child is having a unique feature. Parent is having some common feature. And let's try to work it out. How do I work it out? Test inheritance, I'll go to, so here I'm going to create a new class with a main method in it. And I will say test student. In this class, I'm going to actually test my whole inheritance setup because this will have a main method here. Okay. Now look at it. Look at it very clearly. I'm creating an object of child class. You see, I'm creating an object of child class. I'm not creating an object of parent class. If I'm creating an object of parent class, for example, student tree equals new student. If I do it like this, then 3 dot will get me age, gender, name, start class, stop class. Obviously not can dance. Obviously I don't see can dance. Very simple. I can't see it. However, if I create an object of Sri class, Sri equals new Sri, if I do that, then I will have no problem to access Sri dot. You see, I'm able to access age, gender, name as usual. I'm able to access start and stop class. At the same time, I'm able to access can dance. You can very clearly and look into it, that can dance method is coming from Sri class. It's mentioned over here. You see, SRI. SRI is the class name. Sri is the class name inside which this method is can dance is located. However, start class and stop class is a part of student class. You see that? It's very easily, it can, the Eclipse will show it to you clearly that where exactly this method is residing. Okay. So these guys are in coming from student, and this guy is coming from Sri. Correct. Now I can just go ahead and say 3.name equals 3. 3 dot gender. It's a character, so I'll just say male. 3 dot name, age 30. Correct. And just go 3 dot start class. 3 dot can dance. 3 dot stop class. Correct. So I got all of them here, no problem at all. Test student run as Java application. And you just run this and you have everything perfectly implemented. Similarly, you can test it out with Ronan, Tamina, and everything is fine. That's my inheritance. So if you look at my diagram now, you can see that we have just implemented a hierarchical inheritance, right? Because here, this is student, this is Sri, this is Ronan, and I have one more class, which is Tamina. Why am I not able to add n here?
It's,
Okay.
it's a single inheritance only.
No, it's not. It's not. It's
Wait, wait.
hierarchical inheritance
Yeah,
because-
hierarchy. Yeah.
because
Yeah, I got it.
multiple subclasses
Yeah,
are connecting to one parent
Connected
class.
to the one only. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so there are three different types of inheritance that you must be aware of. Number one is a single inheritance where there is one single parent class and one single subclass, and that's a single inheritance. You have multi-level inheritance where you have a grandparent, you have a parent, and you have a child, right? So you can inherit from grandparent also. They are in the same level. They're in the same level. It's called multi-level inheritance. And the one that we have established right now is a hierarchical inheritance. Subclasses, multiple subclasses connecting to one parent class. And that's called hierarchical inheritance. Okay. However, keep that in mind that you cannot perform multiple inheritance yet. Whatever we have learned so far with that, you cannot implement multiple inheritance. You cannot say a subclass, a single subclass can connect to multiple parent class. Something is not possible right now. Okay, once we learn interface, it will know what exactly do I mean, but this is not working out. Okay, also the hybrid is not going to work out either. Perfect. So we have these three different type of inheritance that I wanted to cover up. Can you guys tell me that you have super clear understanding about protected and inheritance? Yes or no?
For multi-level,
Yes.
for multi-level, is it just class A, B, C, or could you extend that to D, E, F?
You can extend it to n number, no problem at all.
Okay, thanks.
Good. So that's great. And let me just quickly go down. That's that. Okay. Let's go to the next part, which is okay. Understanding constructors. We have to first understand that, and then we have to understand how it is impacting inheritance. Okay, so we have to understand that as well. So let's go and walk through it. So free session. Okay, here. Not assignments, my bad. Class 9. What are constructors? Method overloading, polymorphism, method overriding, runtime polymorphism is what we will be learning now. Okay. I'll take a quick 5 minutes break, guys. I'm thinking that in the 3-hour session, I must give you guys at least 2 5 minutes break when we are learning, and then we will continue properly. We'll talk about the constructor now, and then we'll talk about method overloading, method overriding, polymorphism, runtime polymorphism, and that's pretty much about it. And then finally, I have the last thing to cover, which is the locator strategies little bit. That's fine. We'll cover week number 4 with locator strategy mostly. So that's okay if I don't start this today, this part, last part. Let's talk about constructor, okay? In 5 minutes. Thank you. Okay, so so far we have seen about this simple example that I'm taking, right? About the student class. We have a student class. Okay, let me first talk about the constructor first, and then let me show you how it is impacting inheritance. I will create a new package and set test constructor. test constructor. Okay. So far, whatever we are doing with the data member is actually not the right process. Meaning, so far we are making the data member as either default or protected or public. Okay. That is not what should happen. That is not what you should be doing from now on. Okay. I wanted to start the conversation about how to access the data and the variables and how to look at all the members within the class. That's the reason why I was showing you how to access them with a dot operator, right? But the right way to work out with the data member is to make them private. Why is that? Because you don't want anyone or any other object or any by mistake, anyone must not access these members directly. They must be in private state so that only in certain occasion you can set the data into it. Make it very, very clear. Again, data members are private. Let me write it down here. Are private so that only in certain occasion you want occasions you want to set the data into it. Data members are private so that only in certain occasion you want to set the data into it. If you keep it public, otherwise data members will remain exposed and at any time anyone can manipulate the information. Okay, can manipulate the information. So we have to make them private. That's number one. Now, question is, if you are making them private, how are you going to set the value inside these guys? You have to somehow set the value inside this guys, right? How will you set the value inside this guy? That is exactly where constructors are coming in place. Okay. That is exactly where constructors are coming in place. Correct? Meaning what? Meaning we can create an entity, something like as constructor, which is nothing but public. The constructor will always have the same name that is given to the class. So student, right? Okay. And Let me also show you something else. Public student. Okay, so I'm creating two different constructor here. This is how a constructor looks like. Right now they are all same, so which is why it is complaining that they are duplicate. Okay, but they are not. I'm not going to make them duplicate. Okay, this is my default constructor. Okay, default constructor. This one I want to make it as a parameterized constructor. Okay, as a parameterized constructor, I must be passing the parameters into it, meaning string name, char gender, and age, int age. Okay. Now I want to show you something. Sysout. This is a call to default constructor. I want to give you the understanding whether you explicitly specify a default constructor like so or not. Every class in Java will have a hidden default constructor. What do you mean by that? If I take you to my package here and create a class called as test student again, with the main method over here, right? You'll see that if I am creating student, say 3 equals new student, this is how we are creating an object of the class. Simple, right? That's how we are doing this perfectly fine. So the point is, every time when we are writing this line, 3 student 3 equals new student, what are we doing? We are creating an instance, creating an object or instance of student class. If you remember our Java virtual machine memory management design, that was the stack memory and heap memory, if you remember that. So stack memory. If you remember that, whenever this line gets executed, if I am copying this line, and if I'm just saying again, right, I can create a Sri, I can create a Tamina, I can create a Ronan. You know what will happen in the stack memory? We will be creating 3 different object entities. And you know that at this stage, when this instances are getting created or objects are getting created, at this stage, if you try to understand the information that these guys are holding, you will know that they are all holding default values. How do I prove? I proved it earlier, but let me do it again. If I just go ahead and say debug as Java application, you will see that number 1, you will see that this guy got called number 1. All right. However, if you just hover on top of the 3, you will see age, gender, and name. They're having default information. Age is an integer, so it is 0. Gender is a character. So for character, there is no default actually, right? So it is just nothing. String is a name is string. It is having a default value as null. So basically you understood that whenever I created a simple object out of my class, it is obviously showing me the default information stored by my data members. Simple as that. Correct? The question is, what is happening over here with this empty brackets? This means that whenever I am creating this line, I'm executing this line, I'm obviously creating a relevant object, but at the same time, I am calling my default constructor. So the point here you must be understanding is that every class in Java is going to have a default empty constructor exactly the way that I'm showing you here. Exactly the way that I'm showing you here, a default empty constructor. Every class is having, which is why if you look at it, if I again run this program, you'll see it lands in line number 12. It tries to execute this line over here in line number 7, okay, which is trying to create an instance of a student named Sri, and then it is trying to create it with the help of a default constructor. So anyways, I'm landing in here. You understand that? Anyways, I'm landing in here, meaning that there is a default constructor already available and I am trying to work with it. If I don't give a default constructor, will it be a problem? No, it will not be a problem. It will be working exactly like the way it was working earlier. You see, I go and run this again. Okay. There is one problem. Because I have a parameter as constructor here. Okay, I consider with some parameters here. And at the same time, I am trying to access a default constructor, right? It is telling me that if you have a parameterized constructor, you cannot create an object with default constructor until unless you explicitly define the default constructor. One more time. If you have a parameterized constructor already in the class, then you cannot create an object with default constructor until and unless you explicitly design a default constructor. So because I commented them out, if I uncomment it again, you see the error is gone. Because right now, both a parameterized constructor and a default constructor is existing, and Java is not having any problem with that. However, if I comment out my default constructor, even though I told you that default constructor is available for every class in Java, even though they are existent for every class in Java, if you are adding a parameterized constructor in the class, then you must not try to create an object of that class using a default constructor until and unless you add that default constructor again explicitly. Is that making sense to everybody?
Yeah. That's just one question I have. Why would you have a default constructor and a parameterized constructor? What's the default structure for, I suppose?
Okay. So in this setup, you can give some default values to these information. For example, for a better understanding, you can say, Right now, the default values that we are seeing here is name equals null, age equals 0, gender equals something, correct? Gender equals nothing, right? So we can give a default value for all of them. For example, I can give name, this dot name. I'll tell you what is this means. This dot name equals no name. You're giving some default values. This dot gender equals n. There is no gender named n actually. And this dot age equals 0, however it was, right? So you see, I am giving some meaningful information rather than something that Java is already prescribing. You understand? So right now, if I put a breakpoint over here and I try to debug it, you will see that I land in here, and you will see that the value of age is 0, gender is nothing, name is null. Something that really doesn't make sense. So probably we can give some meaningful information, even though it's a default information, we can give some meaningful information that can be processed further, that can be understood by the developers or whoever is writing it, that, okay, you know, I'm creating the object using default constructor, which is why it is giving me this information. I must be using a parameters constructor to get to put the right values. So once they are all executed, you can now see that they have different names, different values. And now people will be understanding that this is not the right approach, and they will be going for this one. Or maybe they will be reporting this information somewhere. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, that's clear now. Thanks.
Good. So you have a choice. You have clearly a choice saying, I don't want to work with default constructor at all. So no problem. Go ahead and simply comment it out. Nobody will complain. Java will tell you that yes, you can remove default constructor, but when you're creating an object of the class, do not try to work it out of the default constructor because it's not there. Simple. You have to use a parameterized constructor. It's clearly giving you an example, giving you a solution saying add arguments to match, right? So basically it's telling you to use this to match it. So I will say the name is Sri, the character is M, and the age is 35. Now you understand that this is my constructor calling. I'm trying to call a constructor at the same time. When I'm calling a constructor, I'm calling a parameterized constructor so that I can supply my data inside these data members. You understand that? I am trying to supply my data inside my data members, and I'm not making them private, public, or protected, because if I do that, then anybody can tamper with this data. So I'm basically creating only one situation to supply the data inside this data member. That is while I'm creating the object of it. You understand that? If I'm keeping them as public, protected, default, everybody can tamper with it any given time. But now with this strategy, I'm saying you want to put the data inside it, perfect, no problem at all. Create an object of that student to put the data. Otherwise, you're not allowed. Simple as that. Do you understand now the reason for having a constructor? That's my first question.
Yeah.
Good. Antariksh, Tamina, Sri, are you clear with that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so if that's the case, let's now look at the next part. I will be supplying these information to these variables. How do I do that? I say this dot name equals name. This dot gender equals gender. This dot age equals age. Now, what is this keyword happening here? Or what is this keyword doing here? This keyword is basically telling me that this means the current object which is accessing this constructor. For example, when I say student Sri equals new student. When I say that, what happens? The Sri object is represented by this keyword, as if you're saying Sri dot name equals name, right? Equals name. This keyword is basically replacing the object name. That's it. The current object name. This means the current object name, the current object. Okay. So by using this strategy now, my data will be easily supplied inside the data members and everything is fine. Correct? Now that we have understood that, let us try to understand. Can you guys give me an understanding that you have got a very clear picture about what is constructor?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Now I will show you the impact of inheritance when I add a constructor inside the class, and you will see that how it is getting different, and it is logically makes sense, very much makes sense. What I'll do is, whatever this constructor that I have here in the student class, I'll copy this guy. Okay. I will take it to my inheritance example. Student. Okay. And firstly, I'll make this guy private. 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 I made them private. No problem at all. And same time, I will be, obviously, you see, as soon as I made them private, everybody is complaining. Understood, right? Now I'm adding the constructor. Control V. I added a constructor over here. As soon as I added a constructor over here, now you see what has happened with the child. Okay, let's look at it. Let's go to Sri now, or Ronan now. I'm getting some error. Number one error is this guy. Implicit, look at this very clearly. Implicit super constructor student is undefined for default constructor, must define an explicit constructor. It is saying that there is no default constructor available in the student class. So please define an explicit constructor here in the subclass. So meaning what? Meaning that if a parent class is having a constructor, a child class must also have a constructor to support that object creation. And it is making quite sense. Why? Let me first draw it to you, so that it will be crystal clear. So you have a parent, you have a child. Okay. The parent name is student. Student. Student is having the data members, name, age, gender. No problem. And it has got a constructor called student constructor. Okay. Which is a parameterized constructor, and I'm passing name, age, gender to it. Simple as that, correct? Now you understand, somehow we must be figuring out how to set the value, because name, age, and gender are the data members, the main data members, which will be holding the data. Okay, the subclasses are not really holding the data at all. Okay, the parent class is actually holding the data. Name, age, and gender is a part of parent class, so they are holding the data. So now you have to figure it out very clearly that when you are dealing with a child class, this is my child class called Sri, and Sri is extended to student, right? You have to understand something, that with the inheritance in place, if you create the object of Sri equals new Sri. If you create an object of Sri equals new Sri, you must be supporting, or you must be figuring out somehow that the information, that is the name, the age, and gender, this three information, you somehow want them to be sent to the parent class data member. Somehow, when you create an object of Sri or any subclass, you must be figuring it out. How can you send this information to this guy? I told you, because my parent class is having constructor now, to send the data over here in the data member, there is only one way, and that is via constructor. Nobody can access these guys anymore because they are privates. So if you have to send the data to it, then somehow you have to figure it out. How can you match a constructor of a child class to a parent class? So basically, now you are forced, the child class is now forced to match the parent class constructor, something like this, Sri, which is going to be a parameterized constructor now, and you have to pass on the name, age, and gender to the parent class as well. There is no other option. Is this logic making sense to you? Yes, no?
Yeah, no, makes sense.
Other guys? Antarish?
Yes.
Srikant?
Yes.
Okay. Now that we understand this part, let's try to create the constructor of Sri and then of Ronan, and then figure it out what's really happening. Okay. So number one is, let me clear this drawing first. Okay. Now what do I do is, public. All right, Ronan. That's my constructor. It has to be a parameterized constructor because it is clearly telling you must explicitly invoke the another constructor. Okay, so it's asking you to create a parameterized constructor. That's fine. So basically what we can do is this. We can say that from the child class constructor, child class constructor must be calling parent class constructor. How? We can do this via simply using a keyword called super. And in the super, I will be giving a bracket called super method or super constructor. Basically, you're trying to call a super class constructor, and super class constructor, you're going to give this names. The names are, name is Ronan, age is, okay, let me do one thing. Int age or int, sorry, gender. Okay, just say int age is fine. Int age is fine. And here I'd say gender. Yeah, gender is M, and then age is age. So did you understood what I did? I created a parameterized constructor for Ronan, which is accepting only age from the developer whoever will be creating an object of Ronan. They will have to just provide the age of Ronan, which is dynamically sent, and other two characters, other two information like Ronan as the name and the gender as M, they are constant, right? They're constant. If they're constant, I can hard code them right here. So this super constructor is basically calling the constructor of the student class over here, where I'm passing the name, char, and integer, and that's how I'll be supplying the data to it. Correct? However, still I have the problem that the name, age, and gender is not visible. Obviously, they are private. So I can create a method here. Copy, not copy, just select this whole and create a getter method, okay? So source, generate, you see here, just select them all and then go to source, then go to getters and setters, generate getters and setters, and then say select getters, all right, and say generate. And you can see you have got these three guys here. All right, let me just put them here. These are nothing but three different methods. They're just returning you back the values. You see, three different methods: get name, get gender, get age, returning back the values, right? So you can make them public or you can make them protected, not a problem at all. I mean, these values, these guys, you can make them public or protected, no problem at all. As long as you're just getting the value, that's fine. You're not setting it. The problem is with setting. You cannot set a wrong information. You can try to read, but writing is a problem, right? Writing should be having some rules associated to it. Okay, you can definitely read. Anybody can read anything. That's fine. So get name is a reading, correct? So I can just say over here that get name, just like that. Get name, it's a method. Get age, it's a method. Get gender is a method. And is swimming, simple as that, right? Similar strategy will be used for others as well. 3 will have its own stuff here. So 3 and this is 3 here. Age is fine. Here it is get name, get age, and get gender. Right? Good stuff. Tamina, exactly same. Tamina, this is Tamina. F age is dynamic, and same thing. Get name, get age, get age. Come on. get age, and get gender. Okay, that's it. And finally, you have test students. Sorry, you have test students where you have to put them true. Okay, because I have not really added anything over here. So let me remove it. Let me say student, sorry, Sri equals new Sri. Now, obviously, I have to pass on my age in the Sri parameter, I'll say 35, just like that. And then let's try to look at the, now finally, look at the entire data flow, okay? I'll put some breakpoints everywhere so that you can understand it. Okay, let's look at the data flow completely so that you will be having crystal clear understanding what's going on, okay? All right, you see, at first, obviously, I'm landing here in the Sri constructor. Why? Because in the test student class, I'm calling the Sri constructor and I'm landing into the Sri constructor. No problem at all. Okay. In here, I have a syntax super. In the super constructor, I'm supplying all the relevant information. So let's try to go a step over into it. And you can see I landed here in the student class in the constructor where I have got all these values to get set, right? So 1, 2, 3, everything got set. Name, gender, age got set, perfectly fine. And now let me just play the whole thing. You can see everything worked fine. Okay. Now this proves how, this proves what is constructor. This also proves that there is a significant impact on constructor for inheritance. And you must understand it crystal clear. Is this making sense to everyone? Yes, no?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. That's,
Yeah.
Tamina, you have any doubts?
No, it's fine. Thanks.
So that is that, right? Let me go to the next one. Okay. What is method overloading? Let me quickly finish this. And I'll also try to finish the method overriding. I remember,
Uh, a lot of times I'm getting question from the interviewer, what is overloading, what is overwriting,
yeah,
especially
I know. It's very
special
simple.
interviews.
It's very simple to handle. It's very, very simple to handle. So let me take up the same example about overloading, the same example of the methods that I have taken, right? Okay. Can you see that there are 3 different methods here? The name of the method is sum. Here, sum with 2 dynamic numbers. And here, sum with multiple dynamic numbers. I've created 3 different methods, basically to perform only one operation, that is sum. This is an ideal candidate to describe polymorphism or overloading. Overloading or polymorphism. Polymorphism. Okay. What is polymorphism? It means you are trying to give multiple shape to a similar entity, something which is matching to our requirement. You can see that if I am right now creating another method exactly in this format within this class, just like that, if I do it, maybe my implementation is different. Maybe I'm saying I want to add D with E. My implementation is different, doesn't matter, right? Right? It doesn't matter. I'm saying that if I'm keeping two different methods exactly in the same, with the same structure in the same class, then I will be getting the error very obviously saying duplicate method sum in the type test methods. So there is a duplicate method name is called sum, and it is in the test methods class. It is clearly complaining about it. Why is that? Because Java is able to understand very clearly that there is no difference between sum and sum. Correct? No difference at all. Difference in what sense? Not in terms of the coding, no. Not in terms of the coding, no. In terms of the structure, meaning how the method is created. You see, public void sum, and then there is empty braces, meaning this method doesn't accept any parameter. So this method and this method is same. Even, look at this, even if I make this private, even they are same. If I say that some method returns back int, even then they are same. So meaning what? It doesn't matter whether they have different access modifier. It doesn't matter if they have different return type. It doesn't matter. What matters is if they have same name and same argument. In both the cases over here, they don't have same argument. What if I just say add? So add, okay, return 0, for example. You see, add and sum are different. Implementation is same, but they are different. So no complaints. Okay. So it doesn't matter what is your access modifier. It doesn't matter what is your return type. All it matters is the name and the arguments. Correct? If I remove this guy, we are all good. Right? Now, all am I doing here is I'm trying to add numbers. All these three methods are doing the same thing. They're adding numbers. So if they're adding numbers, can I give the same name to all the numbers, all the methods? What is the benefit? You must be asking, what is the benefit of giving the same name to all the methods? The benefit is this, that you have to remember just one single method name. The method name is sum, that's it. And then by looking at the parameters, you will know that what exactly that method is supposed to do, is actually doing. For example, I will change the method name over here to sum, as well as I'll change this to sum. Now these guys are having same names, but they're entirely different. Okay, not in terms of the implementation. The implementation doesn't matter, but in terms of the structure, they're different. How they're different? Number one, this sum is accepting two parameters. One is int, another one is int, two parameters. This sum is accepting only one parameter, but it is a var args. The type of the parameter is different. Here it is an int and int. Here it is int var args. I can create one more method over here saying I want to add a string to a number. Can I do that? Very simple. So string A, meaning my motive is to send the string as if it is a number, meaning I will be sending it within double quotes as 35, like this, right? And I want to convert the string to a number and then add it, right? So I will be doing like this then. I will be basically saying this A that I have here, right? I'll just say I will first convert this string to a integer, correct? How do I do that? I say integer dot parsent, sorry, parsent. In the parsent, I will be passing the a parameter, which will be converting the string a to integer, and then it will add it. Correct. So now you see this number. I have two parameters here. I have two parameters here. No problem at all. Why? Because they have different types of parameters. So it all depends on the types of parameter, the number of parameter. That's how they are different. Correct. This structure is called as polymorphism. So now if you just go back to your tester, the test sum method, and here you can just say method dot sum, method dot sum. Remember one name, just one name. And now looking at the parameter type, you will be performing different stuff. This is called method overloading or polymorphism. Is this clear to everyone here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sri, is it clear to you?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now that we understand the overloading, let's try to understand the concept of overriding. Overloading is different, overriding is different. Overloading is what I just said about creating multiple different values, multiple different methods with different parameter type. That's overloading. Okay, let's try to talk about overriding. Okay, Antarish, I saw the explanation that you gave to Ronan, and it was really good. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, yes.
So let's go to the inheritance. Over here, I will be talking about overriding, because overriding is closely related to inheritance. How do I do that? So for example, Sri is here as a part of the student class. The student class is having methods like start class and stop class. Correct? Totally okay. What if my child wants to create a different version of start class, and stop class? Can they do it? Basically, the idea is they want to keep the name same. All right. They want to keep the structure of this method same, exactly same. And then they want to give a different implementation to the method. That is where the overriding comes. So meaning Sri is saying, yeah, I start class, but I'm starting an online class. I'm not starting any classroom class. I'm starting an online class. So he can go and say exactly whatever you have here, right? Copy this whole thing, paste it here in the Sri class. As soon as I do that, you will see something. You will see that let me comment them out. You will see that the start class and the stop class method is having a triangle next to it now. And if you hover that mouse on top of it, it says overrides student.start class. You are trying to give a different implementation to the existing method within the parent, right? Now just say, okay, just give me 1 second, guys. Okay, so what I'm saying is starting online class. it's a different implementation than what you have seen in the parent. Starting, stopping the online class, right? Different implementation altogether. Okay. Now, because there is a overloading and override, there is a overridden methods present in the Sri class. So only Sri is concerned about this part, right? No one else, right? So now let's test this. Let's go to test students. Let me create another object of Ronan equals new Ronan, right? And then I give a value here, 30, and then I say exactly same as what Sri is doing. Ronan cannot dance. Ronan can swim. Oh my bad. Okay. He can dance. He is happy to swim. So swim. All right. And let's try to start the, let's try to trigger this and see the difference. Okay. So run as Java application. If I do it, let's look at this. Do you see something? Do you see the difference that is over here? Because Ronan is not overriding any information that is coming from the parent. So he is still saying, when I call the method called start class, he's still saying started the class or stopped the class, which is coming from the parent. However, Sri has overridden it. So for Sri, the start class is starting online class and stopping online class. That's the difference between overriding and overloading. Overloading means multiple different methods. They have different implementation, different structure, but the name is same. And overriding means you are overriding a particular method from the parent class to the child class, so the child class can have their own version of that method, same method. Is that clear to everyone?
Yes.
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, good stuff. Perfect. So I think I will let you guys go now today, because I wanted to cover up one more thing. Runtime polymorphism. It is not going to be possible. It needs some good amount of discussion. I'd prefer to show it to you next week. However, I'm going to obviously enable you for week number 4. Okay, learning about XPaths and everything. I'll do it by end of the day, and you can start watching them. Again, start asking questions by Slack. Try to do it earlier during the week so that I can answer you. And yeah, that's pretty much about it for today. I hope you have your doubts about polymorphism, overriding, overloading, constructor is clear for today. Is that right?
Yeah, it is.
Good. Perfect. Loved it. Thank you. Thank you, guys. And I will be sending you the invoice, not invoice, the request for the payment in order to continue beyond today's class. So please keep an eye on your email, take a look into it, and then let me know. All right. Perfect, guys. Thank you. Thank you for joining the class today, and see you next week, same time. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks. Bye.